Hello, my lovely listeners. Welcome in this new moon of Cancer today. And I've been meaning to come on here and talk exactly on this date of a new moon. And it's a really special one. I know from what I've heard from astrologers that there's nothing in retrograde and the planets are really aligning specifically on the sky, and this is a really good day to manifest, a really good day today, 28th of February night, to start things. A really good day also, I feel, to let go. And with every new moon also, start something new and finalize something that has been there for some times. But also another thing I've heard is listen to your dreams or see what you dream about, and the dreams tend to be quite weird apparently. I've been waking up with songs in my mind. So the other day it was Stairway to Heaven, and it was so strongly in my mind as if I was just singing it for the whole night. So I was thinking that is a good segue for my podcast today, because today I wanted to talk about what is spirituality, but also just to kind of weigh it on the other side. Today I woke up with some song, I forgot now, something about, I think it's not It's Raining Men, but something about men. So, and a little bit promiscuous, like I just want to have a man every day, something like that. So, a bit far from spirituality, I would think, if you judge it this way. Today, my subject is about spirituality, and see how far I can go and see how well I can explain that. And when I was thinking about this subject and what I was going to say, I obviously don't know your level of, it's not the knowledge, I think it's more about the feeling. But even if it's a knowledge, it's how you grew up with, if you grew up with religion or not, if you know people that you are surrounded with are atheist or they believe in something, which country you are from, and what your experience is with spirituality. Because one thing to sort of separate is, but also that goes together, I think, in my mind, is spirituality and religion. And I was talking about this before. I definitely mentioned that I grew up in quite a religious Catholic country, and I was always exposed to some sort of mysticism. I was always exposed to, believe in the external force, let me say that. And because I was and I am sensitive, I made it up how I believed in it. So I put the meaning to those external forces, to the external spiritual world, how I understood that since being a child and then growing up. But what is in my mind, what spirituality is in my mind? So first of all is very simply, I believe that it's the notion of we are all eternal spiritual being having human experience. So the first point is about feeling, because I don't even want to say believing, is a feeling, and is a notion, and is the experience almost of knowing that there is something else out there, that it's not only what you see and what you can touch and what you can experience with your five senses. is also something outside, and it's just something outside that is not connected to time, is not connected to it doesn't have a form how we understand it. Basically, that there are things that were and are and always will be, and so that's one thing. And the body is a costume. I know many people uses that this is a costume, and we are so much more than the body. And also in that there is the understanding of passing or dying, and the understanding that there is something else out there, and there was also something before we were born. So I think that could be, is not, doesn't have to be a start, but this is a start of thinking spiritual in spiritual way, I would think. Now, I don't know if I haven't spoken or I haven't really researched if there is someone who doesn't believe that there is something after death. So let's say they just believe that that's it. We live here, we are born, we live here, we have our experience here, and then our body dies, and we, whatever the we is that they believe in, what is we is my body, my thoughts, my heart, my brain, my emotions, my experiences. This is me. But if someone believes that so me is just this, is just the physical, and then once the functionality of body ceases, then that's the end. So can person like this be still spiritual? So I believe that in a way they still can be spiritual, meaning that subconsciously or even consciously, because I believe that's the second part or second kind of thing that is spiritual, is having this connection with nature, having this connection with animals also, and also with other people, and understanding the intangible things that connect us, understanding and feeling into the changes of the seasons, and kind of being in flow, but also being influenced by it, being really curious about things, and ever expanding, while also learning about yourself and learning about the cosmos and learning about people behaviors. So this is one. But also let's say people who live in the countryside, and they have kind of simpler going to work and kind of working like farmers or someone like this, like in traditional way, having this real connection to the ground, and kind of also going through life like nature. I think this is the sign, I would say, yes, of spirituality. So these are some of the things that are kind of spiritual way, I guess. Then the other thing is the way how you think and about yourself, the way how you can be with yourself, and if you can be with yourself, and how you can, first of all, sit in silence. That's for me as a spiritual also sign. You can sit with yourself in silence, and you are not urged to do anything. So this is meditation, but let's say this person is totally is not interested in spirituality, but still can sit in silence with their own thoughts, and it's not, I guess, scared by it, and it's not called to do something, because if I am not doing something, therefore means that I don't exist, or that I get bored. To me, if you can sit with your own thoughts, this is also a sign of spirituality, because it's kind of like you are not afraid of your cosmos inside you, and you are not and you are okay with your thoughts just running separately from the spiritual side of you, which is ultimately your soul, your, I don't know, whatever you want to call it. There are so many words for this. I wanted to sort of run it past ChatGTP. What are other words for spirituality? And I had this one word yesterday and I forgot, which obviously is mysticism, is energy, is what else there was? Yes, there's soul. There's many ways you can call it, but these are the words that come to me right now. Or just before I forget, the other thing that I've heard, because every time I think about the subject, I gather bits and pieces from my daily life that I hear some people say, or I read about them somewhere. So so one thing is that I would say speaks for spirituality. If you think about yourself as not a spiritual person, and if you kind of having doubts and maybe prefer to be more scientific, and that speaks to me, is that the energy never dies, energy just transforms. So if we are energy, and we are, because how we work is energetic, right? There are receptors, and everything in our body works as an energy, and we use energy, and we also emit energy in terms of heat, and that's how our body works. So when we cease to exist, when our body ceases to exist, what happens with this energy? And to me, it just proves that this energy is soul. This is what it is. And because we have, at the moment, we have our bodies, and we emit heat and yes, and the livelessness, which is our life, which is our energy. So when we stop, when the body stops emitting it, it just transfers into something else. So I think it's really beautiful way of the basis and the beginnings of kind of exploring what spirituality is, and how, and what does this mean. And I'm inviting you to imagine and feel into how you feel it. I am really, it's really kind of hard for me to talk about something, because I pretty much, since I remember, I always knew there was something else. I always knew that that's not all there is. I was always in touch and in contact with things out there, however it sounds. I always felt like that sometimes life is a dream. So I always had this feeling, and it wasn't anything that I had to sort of discover. It evaluated throughout the years, and because I feel like, and I talk about it as well, that religion, and especially Christianity and Catholic religion, really made me feel like I was living in a sin, so that I was sinful, and I was always at fault, and I really wasn't able to create a lot, or I felt really small, and I gave this power to God, who I really loved, and I recognized its love, but in the same time I was feeling really small, and yes, and as how the religions say, born in sin, and I was feeling guilty, and this is very difficult thing to shift, to shake off, this living in the guilt. And I think especially for women, really, but that's just another subject. I just wanted to say that I was since I remember, living and in touch with some sort of spirituality. So if you haven't been exposed, this is a really big and amazing area for you to create something for yourself. And it's not, obviously you can listen to what I say, and there's so much research, and there is also scientific research, I guess. So it's an amazing area for you to research this and to find what works for you, how, not even what makes logical sense, it helps as well, but how do you feel your intuition? What does your intuition tells you? What feels good? And I believe that people are innately good, and because we were created with love and for love, and then the experience on earth obviously shaped us however it shaped us, but inside every human being there is good. And I hope and believe that the spirituality will bring us back to this love and to this good. And but I also understand it's the life, and the 3D life is heavy, is really probing us. It gives us triggers, and not to even mention that obviously another part, maybe a higher level of I guess belief or faith, is the fact that we are talking about dimensions, and when we are talking about time, then there is karma, and there is living repetitive lives, or even living couple of lives in the same time, and kind of jumping the timelines from one life to another, depending on our evolution on earth, what we are going through now. It's like you are standing on the, and you have two roads, and you have two choices or three choices, and none of those choices is good or bad. It just takes you to whatever level of evolution you are either supposed to go or you have chosen. And this, if you've chosen this way, you would evolve and you would lead this life, and if you've chosen this way, you've evolved this way and leave this life. But how about we are simultaneously living two lives together in the same time? I don't have a better word to describe it. So we are living those both lives and lives. Sometimes I can almost feel this other Hannah that lives this other life that happened if some things just happen differently. So I know it might be esoteric, but and it is obviously, but it's just something that just comes to my mind. Obviously, things come, and you can kind of sometimes grasp onto them, and you can wonder why they came to you, or you can think about them and I don't know, I guess believe them. And sometimes it's not a thought, sometimes it's a feeling, sometimes it's almost something that you like see with a corner of your eyes. So these are kind of the spiritual, I guess, experience and thoughts that come to me, and that I wanted to express to you. And yes, I invite you to take it or leave it, but this is how it is for me. The other thing I wanted to also say, that there is another part of this kind of spirituality, which is, I don't want to call it tools, but let's say they are tools. Is like an alphabet that speaks to us. Is like is magic, basically. Is magic, and they are objects and things that surround us, that were given to us or were invented by healers and people who have let's call it specific powers. So I am talking about oracle cards and tarot and crystals, and all of the sage and all of the things that helps us and bring us in a state of mind, or show us something that is hidden, that cannot be explained otherwise, and it's about us, and it's about our beliefs, and also about our feelings. How do you feel? What do you think about, yes, oracle cards? How do they speak to you? The tarot cards, how do crystals speak to you? How does light language or energy healing or anything that we anything in this kind of realm that we can think of? And it's definitely, I feel it's spiritual, it's magical. That's another thing, and we call it such because it's not something that we can fully explain. It's not based on 1 + 1 = 2. It's not let's say scientifically proven, although I'm sure that there were many books and many researchers who were looking into it. And it's also not something that someone just thought of and just thought, oh, I just do it just for fun. These things have thousands and hundreds and thousands years of existence on Earth, and they are really primal, I guess. And this is sort of like the first language of wizards, of people who I believe had contact with sources or with their higher self, and they had this deeper, strong belief that they were able to then share and populate with us. And the same with crystals. I mean, they are all really old. And yes, I believe because of their structure, because how they build, they are like magnifying glass for the energy. They are able to hold this energy and to help us to transmute our own energy. They are this like special tools. It's the same as why we regard gold as being very precious, right? We put this meaning, but it's because gold is very rare, and this has got specific specification that may make us believe and give this meaning to gold, that is sacred, is really precious, and we are ready to pay lots of money for gold, right? So I believe that this is the same as with crystals, and really anything that is used in this kind of spiritual realm. And I'm not going to go into, oh, this is kind of for good and this is not for good, because like with everything else, I just said that innately, let's use this word, innately people are good inside, and then everything else around them, how they are brought up, where they happen to live, what parents they had, and everything else, they experiences what was happening in the world around them at the time they were born. Everything else around it creates them and makes them and shapes them into who they are. So it's the same with everything else. So tarot and crystal also can be used in this way, so bad way or good way. I also had this thought about yoga, because there's like lots of reels on Instagram and just social media say, oh, you are not spiritual if you do yoga, you're not spiritual if you eating healthy, you're not spiritual if you are drinking smoothies. So I guess anything that you do with passion, and anything that you do with when you kind of go in the flow and you just let yourself be taken by creation, you can't help for this to be spiritual in the way. When you look at all the big artists and creators, they very sadly, a lot of them went a little bit crazy, right? They were very often consumed by fame, by drugs. When they started creating, I guess for a really good artist, good as a let's say someone who had a great success, but obviously there are many artists who are really good and amazing and great, and not necessarily maybe have great success yet. If you are an artist and you are really good at what you are doing. But what I'm trying to say is that when you are letting yourself be creative, and when you are finding the sources to kind of take you on, I'm sure you cannot fully explain how this happens. You cannot fully, when you are taken on and you just start creating, writing, I don't know, sewing, designing, I'm sure that you are taken into this kind of state of almost like a nirvana, right? It is a state of being in your own spiritual state. So definitely this is something that takes you there, this creative drive, this creative takeover. So if you are doing yoga in this state, and if you, I mentioned being with your thoughts, if yoga helps you doing that, this is also definitely being into spirituality. With healthy living, with healthy food, and taking care of your body, I guess what it brings the awareness. So it kind of it starts to make you think about your body. And then I would hope that this also, because the body is clean, when the body is clean, and when the body is clean and you become really aware, I guess is a really close step, I would say, to the spirituality, to thinking what else, what's there, when the body is clean, the mind is clean. And again, I'm not talking, I don't want to be perceived as as if I'm judging someone or not. It's just, I'm just trying to explain about the spiritual state of mind, and how I understand this. I wanted to also go through a few books and few movies, because when I was thinking about this subject, I was watching True Detective, and this was the first series with Matthew McConaughey, and I also watched the fourth series with Jodie Foster. And the interesting thing is, in this series, and also in many other movies, but in this two particular series, is that both of those detectives represent spirituality and science. In the first series, Matthew is the spiritual one. He is in a way, he is also saying that, I believe that he's saying that we die and that's it, but he has the dreams, and he has got, all those thoughts, and talks a lot about the spiritual world, and he sees things. So he's definitely connected to the spiritual world. And when he talks to this other policeman, who is very straight, very science, if I see something, that means that this exists. If I don't see something, that means that it's rubbish. And this is this kind of polarity between them. And the spirituality with this one, with Matthew, I forgot his name in the series, but anyway, spirituality with Matthew gives him definitely power, and I guess more strength, because he's in touch with that. And how he got there is definitely through tragedy. I'm not gonna tell you the story of the movie in case you haven't watched it, but there was a big tragedy in his life, and therefore he started searching, and therefore he is on his spiritual pathway very strongly. Obviously, there is drugs, and there is deep sadness and desperation there. But then the other person, the other policeman, who is totally not in touch, is not in the spiritual world, is very much into his work and really dedication, and just living, just very much rooted in 3D. He says to this policeman to stop talking. He calls it rubbish and bullshit, and and ask him to stop talking about this because people would think that he's crazy. So I think in a nutshell, it was really well captured how those two words sometimes cannot talk to each other, and how the spirituality might be perceived. Obviously it was just one face of spirituality, but yeah, this is how it was portrayed, and some elements of this deep thoughts and how we interact with each other. Although, like I said, it was because of the experience of him, it was very sad, and it was quite dark, with potential obviously to come back to some realizations, right? And the same in the other True Detective, when Jodie Foster was just this very grounded, down-to-earth, a really good policewoman who was just basing her perception on facts. And then the other woman who was also a policeman, but she was very much rooted in some deep it was like beliefs of the indigenous people who were living there. So believing in goddesses and kind of, I guess, karma and everything around this. And it was dark because it's a Hollywood movie, so I guess you won't expect anything else, but definitely spirituality very, very strongly portrayed there. And again, this dichotomy between 3D, believing in what you see, and spirituality, which then there was faith, beliefs, like old fables and old kind of goddesses who took who were kind of giving eye for eye and like that. So this was one. And then the other one I was watching, just the final one, and I just started watching, is White Lotus. And in this one, I guess I just wanted to finish on the note of what spirituality is not, as and I guess this is not how someone finds spirituality, is going on a retreat somewhere and going for massages and kind of trying to cover up the chaos that's happening in your head. And you have everything there to be surrounded with, to kind of try and put you in touch with the spirituality, but you cannot be further away from it as you are there on this retreat. And it kind of becomes comical, because as if you are blind and had food in front of you, but you are reaching everywhere else, rather than to have this food if you are hungry. Let's say that is just display for you on the table, because you have all of these distractions around you, and because you are thinking that you are something else, because you came into this role, and because you, I guess, feel comfortable, or you are able to I guess sell your soul for that. So interesting movies, and definitely gave me some food for thought. I wonder how this White Lotus is going to finish with all these people, although I think I kind of suspect how. But yes, so I hope this gave you a little bit of food for thought. And yeah, it would be really interesting to find out a little bit more, or if you have any questions, I always welcome you to reach out. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Speak to you soon.